Today I'm sowing another great cool season crop, swede. Now I know that my grandmother used to use swede in soups. I find it's a really versatile vegetable during winter. I use it in mashed potato, I use it in stir fries, and when my kids were young I used to call it unicorn food, and they loved it because it's quite buttery and sweet when you grow it fresh from the garden. Swede is a surprisingly small seed like this, but it is very easy to sow, so you don't need to mix it with sand or anything else. So let's just make our row. Now, don't worry if you oversow it or you think you're sowing it a little bit too thick, because you can thin the seedlings, and at least this way you know you've got a very good germination rate. And then just lightly dust over. And give them a water in. Now swede does need to be thinned. You should have plants that are spaced around 20 to 30 centimetres apart, but the good news is that you can actually pull out some of those germinating seedlings and transplant them in the next row. Hi, so less than 2 weeks ago I sowed 2 rows of swede seed, and you can see they've come up and they're ready for thinning. So I've already thinned this row, and this is the row I need to thin next. If you're anything like me, this fills you with dread because you don't want to waste any plants, especially something you've sown and nurtured. But you can transplant swede into another row like I've done just up there, or I've also transplanted some out into the garden, and I'm going to give some to friends by popping them in this punnet. And all you do is very carefully go through. They should be thinned to at least about 10 centimetres. So I just choose the strong ones to leave, and I come through the row and just gently remove the ones you don't need. And I sit them like that in a lump because it makes it easier for me to transplant them or share them with friends. So the next lot. It actually does, it's super easy, but it does feel so wrong. I know. And once you've gone through the whole row, that's when you get your little, the thinnings, and you can literally just pop them in a pot like this, give them to a friend, or do the same thing and transplant them in your own garden. The only other thing I'd suggest you do with them is, if you've done all the things you can do to keep them growing, you literally just rinse them off and you can use them in a salad.